Are you in the market for an electric skateboard or longboard? E-skate is kind of a hard hobby to get into just because, well, first of all, it's a really expensive hobby to get into. Maybe you also might be scared, but I think that's its own video. I am here to present to you a perfect, amazing starting option for getting into e-skate. Not only is it a good starter board, but I think it's a good blasting board. The last thing you want to do is get a board that you're going to immediately grow out of and get bored of. What you need is a board that's good for starting in terms of performance and in pricing, and a board that's not going to leave you wanting to immediately upgrade. I introduce to you the Wowgo Max. So the Wowgo Max is essentially an upgraded version of the Wowgo Pro. Both of these boards are under $500 and are very comparable to another really good budget board in the market right now, the Meepo Shuffle. They're all under $500, but I already have another video out covering the differences between the Max and the Wowgo Shuffle. If those end up being the two boards you choose between, I really do recommend you watch that video. I'll have a link to it in the description. But the Wowgo Max comes in two variants. You can get the Trident version or the black version. I personally prefer the black version. I just like the simplicity of it, although I do really appreciate the artwork that went into the design of the Trident version. So the Wowgo Max is a hub board, and the reason hub boards are really good for beginners is you don't have to worry about belts, tightening them and maintaining them. That's a little intimidating, especially for beginners, and also you run the risk of, like, rocks getting in your belts, belt snapping, all that stuff. While with a hub board, the motors are built into your wheels, so there's really not much maintenance in it at all. You don't have to worry about like rocks and stuff messing up your board. I think it's a lot better for beginners, and depending on where you ride, it's probably just a better choice in general. So the old board, the Wowgo Pro, had two 500-watt motors, but the Wowgo Max is a little upgraded, so it's a little faster and better. Instead of the 500-watt motors, it has 550-watt hub motors. It runs on a Hobbywing 4.0 ESC with a 12S2 battery. Or wait, 12 S2P. Now, I don't know much about batteries, but by what I understand, a battery like this is really rare in a board of this price range. They really went the extra mile to make sure that this is not only a good budget board, but that it's a good quality, high-performing board, which is why it's easily one of the best boards in its pricing range. It's rocking 50-degree trucks with stock 85A bushings. Another difference between the Wowgo 2S Max and the Pro is the 2S Max has a cushioned grip tape, which is pretty good because the board isn't necessarily flexy. I'd say it's closer to being a stiff deck, so it's a little harder to bend. I mean, it's sort of flexible, but not really. The Wowgo Max has a max speed of about 28 miles per hour, which is 4 miles faster than the previous 24 miles per hour on the Wowgo Pro. And it also rocks about a 13 to 14 mile range, but there's a lot of things that factor into that, like your weight, your wheel choice, things like that. But that just goes for all boards in general. That's actually the perfect segment into one of the best parts of this board, and that's the wheels. So usually a hub board is extremely limited with wheels because the hub motor isn't like a full wheel. It's like a sleeve around a motor. But Wowgo designed this wheel with switching it out in mind. So aside from the stock street wheels, there's also other wheel options that are fully and easily compatible with this board. They do add a little weight, but they add a lot of comfort to your ride. And depending on where you live, if you have like a lot of rough streets or things like that, for a lot of people, these wheels are a necessity, which is a big thing that puts this board above Meepo's Shuffle. The Meepo Shuffle wasn't really designed with replacing the hub wheels in mind. I mean, you can, but it's complicated, it's a huge DIY process, and when it just comes to like customization and wheel options, the Wowgo easily wins there. So, in conclusion, the Wowgo Max coming in at about $480, the Wowgo Pro coming in at about $460. It's a $20 difference. It doesn't make any sense to get the Pro over the Max, in my opinion. I also forgot to mention that the Wowgo Max has slightly improved reaction times than the Wowgo Pro. The speed of the connection between the remote and the board is slightly quicker. It's like point something of a second, probably not noticeable to like a normal rider, but that improvement is there. It is a great budget board. I think perfect for commuting. Might be really good for like freestyling as well. It's kind of a wide deck, so there's a lot of room to do stuff on the board. And honestly, if this was out whenever I was first getting into e-skate, this definitely would have been my option. I kind of went with the risky route. I got a $700 board from X-Way, which, don't get me wrong, it was a great board, but I had no idea if I was even gonna like e-skate or not. Before that, I didn't even skate, so it was a huge gamble on a hobby with me, but I don't really know if there was cheaper, high quality options like this around at the time. Oh, and obviously, you know, they're cheaper with my discount code, JackHasWifi. Use it at checkout. Makes it slightly cheaper, and it also supports me in being able to continue to produce content like this.